You know, is the truth. And because you know, when you go to spar someone in the gym, so you're not allowed to record it, because if I was allowed, I was going to pause the video. And I'm happy because nobody can, you know, say that I'm lying. So it's cool.
He's like he's like a middleweight, you know what I mean? Like a sort of not an amateur boxer.
It started as gym talk, the kind of rumor that bounces from one corner of a boxing gym to another until it takes on a life of its own. But this one had teeth. According to insiders, Martin Bakole didn't just drop Dillian Whyte in sparring, he wiped him out. And this wasn't some flash knockdown you could laugh off later. This was a full-on
Do you remember the shots specifically that dropped him?
Uppercut, left hook, jab. All of them, I give them a hard time with the jab. I always keep this one for the fight. So soon I use it once.
Behind closed doors collapse. Bakole himself says gym rules kept the footage from leaking, but the way he carries himself whenever it's mentioned tells its own story. In boxing circles, whispers like this don't fade easily. They spread, they stick, and they shape the way fighters are viewed. Those who were there...
He stopped us with a body shot, fought for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then he continued sparring with somebody.
Say Whyte didn't see the shot coming, and when it landed, the damage was real. Veteran trainer Billy Nelson is rumored to have confirmed the story privately, that Whyte wasn't just buzzed, he was folded over and left gasping for air for minutes after. In a spar, that kind of body shot is brutal, and according to the whispers, Bakole didn't pull his punch. He threw it with Fight Night in
First time he gets cracked, it's gonna, I guarantee you, his head's gonna be like, oh shit.
It's gonna be interesting to see what happens.
How many rounds is it?
I think it's 8.
Intent. For Whyte, that's more than just a physical blow, it's a mental one. And even Joe Rogan couldn't resist adding fuel to the fire. The UFC commentator, never shy about jumping into boxing debates, painted a vivid picture on his podcast. The moment Whyte takes a clean shot in a...
Knocked him out in the first round. He hit him with a left hook and then a right hand as he was going down. Like, Pereira's a monster. So he was sparring with...
Real fight. Memories of that Bakole spar could come flooding back. Rogan's take was pure fight psychology. If he gets cracked, he said, his head's gonna go, oh shit. And in an 8-round scrap, Rogan thinks one well-timed punch might be enough to break Whyte mentally. He described the scene in...
The old Dillian, it was a couple of years ago. It's going to be interesting to see how much that Dillian Whyte has left. And is the...
Detail, a left hook, then a right hand as Whyte was already on the way down. In his mind, that's the kind of sparring moment that never truly leaves a fighter. It becomes a ghost that lingers, ready to reappear under the lights. The gym talk suggests Bakole brought that same savage energy into the Whyte session. A first-round knockout in sparring isn't something most fighters forget, and Tyson Fury's comments since have only deepened the intrigue. Fury hasn't outright said Whyte is finished, but read between the lines and his message is clear. The old Dillian is starting to sound like a relic from years gone by. In Fury's eyes, those wars in sparring, including the Bakole incident, have chipped away at Whyte's edge. The question now isn't just about whether he's in form.
What probably surprised, well no, probably what surprised me more than anything was the confidence that he had. He was getting it with me. You know, I was world champion at that point. And this young man came in and he really...
It's whether he can still take that kind of heat at all. The old Dillian was a couple of years ago, Fury remarked, and that subtle shift from is to was says plenty. Johnny Nelson, the former cruiserweight world champion turned analyst, has been paying close attention too. He's less focused on Whyte's past and more fascinated by Moses Itama's mentality. For Nelson, the most telling sign wasn't a knockout punch or a highlight reel. It was Itama's confidence in sparring. Nelson recalls young fighters walking into a session with a reigning champion and immediately going for it. No hesitation, no respect for the established order. In boxing, that's not arrogance. It's danger. And those who were close to the Bakole, Whyte session say Itama's sparring with Whyte had that exact...
That's a good fight, actually, especially for Moses. I think it's a very good time to fight Dillian. He's had a couple of years out the ring. But, you know, make no mistakes, Dillian Whyte is a massive puncher to head and body. I know he's taking it very serious. I'm speaking to Ty Mitchell, who's in training camp with him. And looking forward to the fight. You know, it's a big step up for Moses because he hasn't really fought anybody on Dillian's level. The old Dillian, it was a couple of years ago. And it's going to be interesting to see how much that Dillian Whyte has.
Same flavor, no feeling out process, no cautious jabs to measure distance. Just a mission to test exactly how much punishment the other man could take. Nelson's respect for that fearlessness is obvious. In his eyes, that kind of attitude can break an opponent mentally before the first bell even rings. And if Whyte struggled with it in a private spar, imagine under the lights, with the crowd roaring and the pressure doubled. There's no place to hide in those moments. Tyson Fury's take on Moses versus Whyte plays both sides of the coin. He acknowledges Whyte's power, but plants seeds of doubt about his conditioning and sharpness. For Moses, the timing couldn't be better. With the Bakole story still making the rounds, this fight offers him a chance to make those whispers matter on a much bigger stage. Johnny Nelson goes one step further, hinting that Whyte might now be
until that new star establishes himself. So we'll just wait and see, but it's exciting.
What do you make of Atama versus Dillian Whyte?
It's a good fight. Dillian likes to fight. He'll have to tear up. Yeah. You know, you can't test this man's cojones. You know, he'll fight anybody and everybody. So with Dillian doing that, you think, you know what? You know, it's a good fight, good testing fight, and like, you know, he might be
a gatekeeper. In boxing terms, that's a loaded label. A gatekeeper isn't feared like a contender. He's the man young lions test themselves against. And in Whyte's case, the label isn't without cause. The inactivity, the sparring rumors, the questions about his durability, they've all contributed to a shift in perception. Nelson praises Whyte's willingness to fight anyone, anytime, but even that grit can't mask the fact that he's now the benchmark for the next generation. Moses Itama isn't stepping into the ring to survive, he's stepping in to make a statement. If Whyte falls here, the whispers about him being past his best won't just grow louder, they'll become cemented. If he wins, maybe, just maybe, the sparring talk dies for good. Spencer Oliver isn't hedging his bets, he's calling it outright. Moses wins
everything because he knows it's the last chance saloon for him. He needs the victory here. So look, we find out just how good Moses Itama is, I think, on the 16th of August when he boxes Dillian Whyte, because I think he wins it and wins it in style. But everyone they put in front of him so far, he's just dismantled. I think this kid's going to go on and win.
And wins in style. His confidence isn't based on hype alone. For months, insiders have been saying the same thing. Moses is young, powerful, fearless, and unscarred by the kind of brutal spars that can leave mental baggage. Whyte, by contrast, carries those scars, both physical and psychological, from nights when things didn't go his way behind closed doors. Oliver's prediction even looks beyond this fight. He sees Moses as a future world champion, meaning this isn't just about beating Whyte, it's about announcing himself on the world stage and facing a man with nothing to lose but everything to gain. That's a dangerous assignment for any veteran. Buddy McGirt, the respected trainer, takes a slightly different angle, but the urgency in his tone is the same. For him, this fight is do or die. Mindset will be everything. In his own colorful way, McGirt...
Because I think he understands the importance of this fight. I mean, what it means to him in his career. So, you know, it's all about now going out now, and it's like all about bullets and gun smoke.
McGirt talks about bullets and guns, nuts and guts, pure fight language for high-stakes combat. He's heard the whispers, too. He knows Moses has been training like a man who's one big performance away from becoming a household name. Whyte, meanwhile, has to fight not just Itama, but the mental baggage of the Bakole knockout rumor. And in McGirt's view, if Moses keeps the pressure high, Whyte will have to dig into reserves he hasn't touched in years. If those reserves aren't there, the younger man will take everything from him under the lights. Gareth A. Davies, one of Britain's most respected boxing journalists, walks a fine line between praise and provocation. He openly calls Moses a future world champion, but slips in a pointed comment about Whyte's £2 million payday. Is this fight about legacy or a final big check? In UK boxing culture, that question stings. Fighters...
He's someone who I've always said to him, you will be a world champion one day. And maybe this is Dillian's moment as well to prove that he's still got it in the system, and that this is He hasn't gone here for the whatever they're calling it, the 2 million payday or whatever, how much he is getting for the fight.
Who step in for money alone often end up on the wrong end of a beating. And behind the scenes, insiders point to Whyte's long layoff, recent form, and yes, those persistent sparring stories as evidence that he's not the same fighter who once went toe-to-toe with Anthony Joshua or Joseph Parker. For Moses, this fight is about confirming what people like Davies have been hinting at for years, that he's the next big thing. Do it against Whyte, and it's not just a win, it's a changing of the guard moment. Dave Coldwell zeroes in on the tactical side. He knows what Whyte must do to survive. Get it, Omaz respect early. That's a polite way of saying land something hard enough to make the young lion think twice. In boxing psychology, early success can flip the script. Without it, the young fighter grows bolder by the round. Coldwell's advice to target the body is more than tactical. It's strategic survival. Slow Moses down before he hits his rhythm. But
it's a very difficult fight for him. It's a very difficult fight for him. He can't afford to bite on Atama's triggers and feints. He's got to land something early to get some respect off of Moses as well. And it's called the body snatcher. I think he's got to dig that body. He's got to try and take away the sharpness from Atama by investing.
Here's the danger. If Whyte goes to the body and gets countered clean, all that talk about sharpness swings heavily in Moses' favor. Gym insiders say Moses has been laser focused on countering body shots in camp, fully aware that veterans will try to sap his speed. And with the Bakole sparring KO story still floating around, fans will be watching closely to see if Whyte can impose himself physically, or if this is another case of a young, fearless fighter flipping a veteran's game plan upside down. Peter Fury frames the fight in classic terms: experience versus speed, guile versus ferocity. On paper, Whyte has the size, strength, and history, but boxing isn't fought on paper. Fury's central question, can Whyte negate Moses' speed, power, and ferocity, cuts to the heart of the matchup. For veterans, nullifying a young fighter's advantages means controlling the pace, slowing the fight down, making it up.
Look, it's a good fight to make. Dillian Whyte's got the experience. He's also he can punch. He's strong. He's a big unit. But can he negate the speed, the power, and the ferocity of this young heavyweight coming? And he gives angles. He's a good boxer as well. So that's the thing. You've got experience against somebody who's up and coming that hasn't been tested yet because he's so sharp, so deadly with his punch.
Ugly, forcing clinches, but Moses isn't a one-dimensional brawler. He uses angles, footwork, and timing, the very things insiders say Bakole exploited against Whyte in sparring, timing his movement, catching him between steps. Fury's respect for Moses' boxing IQ is telling. When you combine speed, power, and ring intelligence in a hungry prospect, you create a nightmare for an older fighter trying to roll back the years. Dave Allen keeps it blunt. Inactivity, he says, is the real killer here. For all Whyte's experience and punching power, fight sharpness can't be replicated in the gym. And when there are already stories about you struggling in sparring, that lack of sharpness becomes a flashing red warning sign. Allen gives Moses the edge less because of hype and more because of momentum.
As a boxing for him, Dillian Whyte's not been active for time with us, so I'm making time my favourite based on that, but Dillian Whyte's experience, he can punch. No result would surprise me, but I would go with him.
Moses is active, confident, and untested under real fire, meaning he hasn't been worn down by years of punishment. Whyte, by contrast, has been in wars, and every war takes something from you. In heavyweight boxing, when your opponent senses you've lost that edge, they don't give it back. They take the whole fight from you. When Moses Itama and Dillian Whyte finally step under the lights, it's more than just another heavyweight bout. It's a collision of timelines. On one side, an unbeaten power powerhouse with the confidence of a man who's never tasted defeat, backed by whispers that he's already handled Whyte in sparring. On the other, a seasoned warhorse with the power to end a fight in one shot, but carrying the weight of inactivity, age, and rumors he's desperate to silence. If Moses wins, it's the arrival of a new force in the division, a fighter insiders speak about in hushed, almost fearful tones, finally proving the hype was real. If Whyte pulls off the upset, he rewrites the narrative, shuts down the gossip, and reminds the world there's still venom in his gloves. The mental edge might be with Moses, but the experience is all Whyte's. That's what makes it dangerous for both. Insiders say the pace will decide it. If Moses starts fast, Whyte could unravel. If Whyte slows it down, his power comes into play. Fans aren't just watching a fight, they're watching a possible passing of the torch, or one last stand from a man who's been counted out before. So the question is simple: are you backing the fearless young lion to roar into the big time, or is the old warrior about to remind everyone why he was feared?